Hello and welcome to the ETF show. I'm your host, Kristen Myers, ETF Editor-in-Chief at Asset TV. And joining us today is Kyle DeTullio, ETF Capital Markets Specialist at Thrivent Asset Management. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Kyle, Thrivent has several ETFs, and we're going to talk about the small and mid-cap suite that you guys are expanding in just a moment. But I want to talk first about fixed income. You do have some fixed income ETFs, and we are about a month out now from the next rate decision from the Fed. Rate cut is expected. I'm curious to know how Thrivent right now is looking generally at the fixed income landscape.
Yeah, so thinking generally about the fixed income landscape, we are proponents of stepping out of cash at the moment. So adding a little bit of duration to a portfolio, but keeping it on the shorter end of the curve. This is part of why we launched our Thrivent Ultra Short Bond ETF, ticker TUSB, earlier this year, is to help financial professionals access strategies that can take advantage of that particular part of the yield curve.
And for those finance professionals, the advisors that might be watching, really, how are you guys even thinking about fixed income ETFs, bond ETFs in portfolios right now?
Yeah, so we are focused on the core of financial professionals' portfolios for their clients. And we think that the ETF structure offers a lot of benefits when looking to invest in fixed income. Just amongst some of them is the ease of access that you have utilizing an ETF, the ease of liquidity in the ETF structure. It's a powerful vehicle, and we're excited to have offerings in the space.
So I want to talk now about those small mid-cap ETFs. You already have one, ticker TSME. That's going to be the Thrivent Small Mid-Cap Equity ETF. And you have two more that you're also adding to that suite, TSCV, the Thrivent Small Cap Value ETF, and TMVE, the Thrivent Mid-Cap Value ETF. These are a mouthful now. So small and mid-caps, frankly, have lagged the large caps so far in 2025. Are you seeing any kind of reversal in that trend going forward?
Well, we think that the next couple of years could be really interesting in these small and mid-cap spaces. As of right now, we're in the middle of a Fed rate cut cycle. If we see that bear out and we see those lower borrowing costs realized, and potentially even a lift in consumer spending, which often will accompany lower rates on borrowing and credit there, then we think that that could be a real tailwind for companies in the small and mid-cap space. On top of that, even, there's the potential still for reductions in regulatory requirements, which could help these smaller companies to innovate and enter new markets. Again, just providing a tailwind for the space.
So looking out at that runway, though, right, you are mentioning some pretty strong tailwinds, but it doesn't seem as if it's without any kind of bumps in sort of this takeoff, because we have heard, right, there are expectations of a slowdown in terms of economic growth and that there is potentially a recession coming up. So when you're looking out at that runway, how long is it, right, for those investors or those advisors that are thinking of allocating to some of those small mid caps or that small cap value and that mid cap value? How are you thinking of that trend reversal then going forward? Is it a much longer runway as opposed to a pretty meteoric rise going forward?
Well, we generally take a very long-term view of investing. We see ourselves not as traders, but as investors, and that's the philosophy that we try to bring to our ETF suite. With that, there's going to be turbulence in markets. That's just a truism, right? And we think that that is where the active management that we incorporate in our products can really help our end clients there.
So I'm curious, Kyle, what you are seeing in the sort of small mid-cap space or in investor attitudes and appetites that made you want to expand the small mid-cap suite with these two ETFs, particularly in the value space?
Yeah, so we do think that the small and mid-cap segments of the equity market provide a lot of opportunity for active management in particular to provide alpha or excess returns to a portfolio. And with that, we have about 55 years of experience in this space. We've got somewhere around 70 analysts and researchers who can help bring ideas to the table to help us find those opportunities, be it in value, in the value style box, or in a more generalized approach where we can bounce back and forth between value and growth. So we're just generally excited about being able to bring that expertise to our clients in the ETF structure.
So Kyle, you were just talking a moment ago about that sort of active edge, really, is how I'm sort of thinking about it, that Thrivent has with some of its ETFs. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about how you guys are really identifying some of those under the radar companies that can really provide that next opportunity for investors.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have a robust team behind our portfolio managers. So we're talking about dozens and dozens of opinions coming to the table, floating best ideas, working with our proprietary research in a teamwork-focused environment is really how we approach portfolios in this space. We think that active investing can particularly bring benefits to clients in turbulent markets like we've seen and uncertain times, because these resources allow for a dynamicism to the portfolio and that the human touch that can keep tabs on your various risk metrics and exposures.
So for any of the advisors that might be watching or investors that might be watching, how should they really be thinking about the small mid-cap allocation in their portfolios? Is this something that you're thinking of as a core part of the portfolio? Is it a satellite strategy?
Yeah, so we are really focused on the core of financial professionals' portfolios. And we think that, again, over the long term, which is where our focus is, that active management can provide real financial value to investors.
All right, Kyle DeTullio, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for tuning into the ETF show at Asset TV.